President Bola Tinubu has appointed Olukayode as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) in violation of the law establishing the Anti-Corruption Agency. The president also approved the appointment of Mohammed Hamajoda as the secretary of the EFCC on a renewable term of 5 years. Now, both appointments are subject to Senate confirmation, of course. Reports gathered that Mr. Olukayode, although a former secretary of the EFCC and ex-chief of staff to the chairman of the commission, did not meet the requirements of Section 2, subsection 3 of the EFCC Act to be qualified for the appointment. The law stipulates that a chairman of the commission must be a serving or retired member of any government security or law enforcement agency not below the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police or equivalent, possessing not less than 15 years experience. Now, Mr. Olukayode had no experience in any security or law enforcement agency until his first appointment at the EFCC in 2016, when he was appointed to serve as the Chief of Staff to then acting chairperson of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu. Now, he held that position from 2016 to 2018. Oh well, joining us virtually to discuss this is John Akerele and Nelson Ekujumi, both public affairs commentators. All right, so gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm going to start with John on this one. Now, John, what's your take on this appointment, and how would you, in your own words now, how does this make you feel? One who has been said to be not qualified for the position, a position as sensitive as that of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Delicate institution of government, if you ask me. John?
Thank you, Moses, for having me, and good morning to all of our viewers all over the world. I think for me, this is just another goof by this present administration. Mind you, I want to say that whatever this administration is doing, they should understand that the whole world, the eyes of the whole world is on Nigeria, and they are watching Nigeria. And so each and every decision of these governments will either make or mar our image on the global stage. Now, check other countries of the world. How did they appoint the overall, officer in charge of their security agencies? The FBI's, the NYPD's, the CIA. How did they come about appointing those people who head that unit or the department? And I think for us in this country called Nigeria, we should understand that it's beyond partisanship. It's just building system. For me, I think is just a mess. How will you bring somebody who is not even a security personnel, who has got no experience in that field? It means that you want to go back to that era of using EFCC as a puppet of the government to witch hunt the perceived opposition. And don't just write it down, Moses. In few days from now, if the Senate confirms this same person as the chairman, just watch the activities of EFCC, and you will see that we are going back to the days where all of the opposition party members who are actively, who have one case or the other, their case will resurrect. The dry bones of those cases will come alive again. And those within their own fold, their own party, will be shielded by the feathers of the president, because now it's against working, getting your opposition arrested and silencing them, as against building institutions that will last the test of time. So for me, I think it's just a show of shame that, anybody can be your president, even when there's still a case of certificates forgery or not. And I think at this point, the administration should understand that there are too many things on their table and too many things in their mouth to chew. Rather than face governance, they should stop all of this that they are doing. One thing that I think they should do in silencing the opposition is to make sure that what they are doing in terms of capacity, in terms of competence, in terms of federal character and inclusivity, if these four parameters are met, I can assure you, even the opposition will have nothing against the administration. But in this case, you can see you are bringing somebody who does not even have any prior qualification, who does not even have any security. So now imagine how will that person as EFCC boss operate in that unit. So it means that from inception, you are putting a round peg in a square hole, and it will not work. And that's why you see, at the end of the day, you would look at the case of Efcc, you will not find any improvement because the person at the end of the affair does not have any prior experience or history in terms of him pursuing a case or the other as far as that security unit is concerned. So I think there's still time for them to go back and readjust. Don't forget the case of the minister. And we said that you cannot use the minister, somebody who is old, to say is the minister for the youth ministry, youth and sports development. No. And I think they listen to us and then they have to put down notes. So I think for this one now, they should go back and rethink. There are so many qualified men and women in the police force, in the security units, who have served over 30 years, who are still agile, who've got the experience, who've got the training, who, when they come into power, they can do what they ought to do. And this is a call out to the president that they should rethink this decision and do it not for their own selfish interest, but for the generality of Nigerians, so that Nigerians can be free, can be happy again, that we have a security agency in the right person. Now, when Nurubadu was appointed as the NSA, I came out to say that was a good appointment because I know Nurubadu's past. I know what he has done while he was in the Efcc. And him being the NSA now, I'm sure that there are so many things that will happen to our security architecture. And so if they can do that in the case of Nurubadu, why not do the same in the case of EFC boss? So I think they should have a rethink.
All right, then. Thank you very much, John. Now, Nelson, let's come to you now. John did say that the president goofed in this appointment. Do you think so? Or do you share a different view? Nelson Okujimi.
Yes, unlike your opening position, as well as John's position, I share an opposite view. I listened to you say, you said the president appointed in violation. It means even you, as a presenter, you're already coming with a fixed mind on this issue. And we all know very well that Nigeria is a country today which is governed by the Constitution. And every activity of government, as well as the people, is governed by the laws. And the ground norm is the Constitution. The EFCC Act stipulates who qualifies to be an EFCC chairman, that the person must be a retired or serving security officer or somebody who has served in a law enforcement agency. So I want to ask, Mr. Olukayode served in the EFCC as the chief of staff to the EFCC chairman before becoming the secretary. I'm sure you know that the EFCC is a law enforcement agency. So that means he's eminently qualified because he has worked in the EFCC as the secretary. And from the EFCC Act, only the chairman and the secretary are permanent members. That means he has served there as an EFCC, secretary. And looking at the position as well, the law also stipulates that for you to be the EFCC chairman, it must not be less than the rank of an ACP, Assistant Commissioner of Police. And the position he held as the secretary of the EFCC, that position is equivalent in other security agencies to other security or law enforcement agencies to the position of a DIG, which means is far above. Then you have talked about 15 years. This is a man who has 22 years experience in service. The law did not say, oh, he must have 15 years in security agencies work or maybe in private practice. The law says 15 years experience. This is a man that has had about 22 years working experience. So I don't know the parameters from which you want to fault Mr. President, but whatever we are doing now is we are making our own opinion. Somebody was talking about certificate forgery. Like I've always said, the problem we have is that I think our level of education has degenerated. People lack understanding. A candidate claimed he graduated from a school. The school came out publicly, to assert that this candidate graduated from our school, and you are still all over the place talking about forgery. Oh, Nigeria has become an embarrassment. People are just, embarking on infantile tantrums as far as some of us are concerned, because we are focused on the issues. And the issues are that on this appointment, whoever has anything against it, the appointment is still subject to the confirmation of the Senate. Go and put your petition to the Senate. That is how it is done in civilized crime. And, point out why you feel the president has violated the Constitution. And let's see how it goes. So for me, the president has not erred in any way. If you look at the Efcc Act, this candidate eminently qualifies to be appointed to that position. Thank you.
All right, then. Now, I didn't want to interrupt you, so it doesn't seem like I'm trying to gag you or prevent you from speaking, because I know we've had that kind of fallout in the past. So I just allowed you, flow. And the right of your people would never, try to gag anyone. But let's read the act again. You've made valid points indeed. But the EFCC, the act establishing the EFCC, Section 2, Subsection 3 of the EFCC Act, says that the person qualified to be appointed must be a serving or retired member of any government security or law enforcement agency. All right? That is on one side. And not below the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police. You've also responded to that in your own view. Possessing not less than 15 years experience. Less than 15 years experience, don't you think it is in the service of a law enforcement agency? Not less than 15 years, but the person of Mr. Olukayode basically was appointed as a secretary to the EFCC in 2016. Chief of Staff, I beg your pardon. Chief of Staff to Ibrahim Magu in 2016, a position he held from 2016 to 2018. Now, let's also read up on what it says, must have 15 years cognate experience of law enforcement and must not be below the rank. Well, we've emphasized this already. Olukayode is a private legal practitioner, has never worked or belonged to any security or law enforcement agency, aside from being a chief of staff to the chairman of the FCC, Ibrahim Magu, and does not have 15 years cognate, emphasis on that word, cognate experience as a law enforcement officer. All right? And now, its private legal practice years cannot be equated to the rank in law enforcement. Not enough attending seminar courses as a private legal practitioner it can equate to 15 years cognate experience. All right? So we're looking at the word cognate experience. That's how it is in the law. But it's fine. We appreciate your view on this. Now, John, I'm going to come to you now. John, now, you do know that when the president was campaigning, there were talks that he identifies talent and he puts the right people in position. What do you make of what is playing out now, John, in terms of the president putting the right people on the job? Do you feel like that's not what we are seeing at this moment?
Thank you, Moses. Before I respond to that question, let me say thank you to Mr. Nelson Ekujimi. And I want to just say to him, that I'm happy that he himself admitted to one fact that I'm picking up, and that's the last line, that in a sane clan, you can always go to this. But Nigeria, you and I know that Nigeria is not a sane clan, So that's settled that issue on that angle. Now, pertaining to the Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which is Mr. President today, I told you on this forum before that I love Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a governor in Lagos State. because I didn't read it on book. I had experiential knowledge of what he did in Lagos. All right. Now, Nigeria is not Lagos State. This is on a larger scale. And that is why what worked in Lagos might not work in Nigeria. Okay? He has the eye to fish out talent. I agree with you. Okay? But do you know that in the case of Nigeria as a whole, it's more complex because people will come about tribalism, people will come about religiosity, people will come about ethnicity, come about zoning. Now, some people are already raising an eyebrow that most of president's selections in terms of his nomination, ministerial appointment, and all of that, that is always coming from, majority of it comes from the Southwest. And that is part of the problem I think we are having. Okay? So for me, if he has the eyeball, which he has proven to us that yes, he can search for talent, let's also extend this talent pool to the other part of the country so that everybody can feel inclusive. Moses, searching for talent is not even the big thing for me. Nigeria is at a point where we need serious solution to diverse of multi-dimensional problems that we are facing, and that's why I don't really envy whoever is appointed into this cabinet, because there is a lot of mess on ground to be cleaned. There's a lot of job to be done. There's a lot of expectation and hope of Nigeria that is high and very, very high. And as such, if they are not able to give dividends to Nigerians in the next 4 years, next 3.5 years, Nigerians will not be happy with all of these appointments and all of that. Another thing I think that we should also look at is the fact that not even appointing people, but letting them know from day one that your appointment is a call to duty, it's not a call to oppress people, it's not a call to, lavish, show people that there is so much wastages in governance. Rather, it's a time to cut down on governmental spending, on frivolities. It's a time to have true service to Nigerians. And just let me say on this story that kudos to the Minister of Interior, Tunji Ojo from Ondo State, who, in this short time has been able to clear backlog of passports issues that he met as a minister. And not only that, he's even saying now that since that one is being cleared, that going forward, passports will be delivered to people's doorstep. That is how it has been done in a sane clan. But I'm sorry to say, you and I know that Nigeria is never a sane clan, according to what Mr. Tunji said. So I think that is what I think people should work on, so that together, when we speak at times, we might be emotional, we might be angry. It's because we've been to other part of the world and we see how things works. And we are like, some of these countries that this thing works for them, they don't even have as much money, as much manpower, as much brilliant people, as much talented people that we have in Nigeria. But yet, how come our own case is like this? And so it's not because I'm a member of another political party, but because I'm a very dedicated Nigerian that want my country to work like every other country of the world. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Still on you, John. What criteria do you think should be considered, when appointing someone as EFCC chairman? Because Nelson has said already, I was going to go to that, but he already said it, that Olukayode is a lawyer and with over 22 years of experience as a regulatory compliance consultant and a specialist in fraud management and corporate intelligence. Now, doesn't this supposedly impressive CV count for something?
Well, for me, no matter how impressive the CV might look like, I think for us, we should just, go by the way of our constitution. If our constitution says these are the rudiments, these are the requirements, why not let's follow that requirement? I'm sure, aside from this, Mr. Olukayode, there are other ably qualified men and women in that force who tick all of these parameters, who tick all of these boxes. I don't know, maybe they are from the southeastern part of the country, maybe they are from the southwestern part, but I can say to you authoritatively that in that same field, in that same agency, there are 101 people that are qualified to be chairman. Maybe they are Igala, maybe they are Yoruba. I don't really want to know where they are from. Maybe they are Yoruba people. I don't know where they are. I don't want to know where they are from. But my point is, let's say that when people are being chosen onto a particular position, or when they are being appointed, let people see it that when it comes to capacity, it's checked. When it comes to competence, it's checked. When it comes to fair sharing and balancing, it's checked. When it comes to cognitive experience, it's checked. And when you check all of these things, there's nothing any opposition or any other person will say against such an appointment. Why? Because all of the boxes that are criteria is being checked. Now, if all the boxes are being checked, there's nothing that anybody can raise as a concern to that kind of appointment. Even the Senate will have nothing against him than to say take a bow and go. So I think this is one thing that we should learn, that when some of us come out to say this appointment is vague, this appointment is not really a round peg in a round hole, don't look at it that we are talking politics. No, it's not politics, it's now governance, all right? And when it talks about governance and governmental policies, it affects all of you, including you, Moses, and Mr. Nelson right there. It affects all of us. And so we should be careful as to what and what we support, because when it comes to our own turn now, we can bite our fingers on the long run. So for me, I don't want to know where the person is from, but all I want to see is all of the boxes of requirements. Once it is checked, then let him go ahead and deliver to Nigerians as to the service that is being required from him.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. Now to you, Nelson. So the EFCC is an agency responsible for the investigation of financial crimes, such as money laundering, counterfeiting, contract scams, amongst many other crimes. What do you think? Because some Nigerians are of the opinion that, there is something suspicious about this appointment, with regards to, some have even said, some things about it's being about this action, being in a bid to, cover up some financial issues in Nigeria. What do you have to say about this? What do you have to say?
Well, thank you very much. I think I want to quickly correct a line by your other guest there. He talked about a sane environment. And I don't know where he lives. I live in Nigeria that is a sane society. We are all living witness to the fact that when the president submitted his list of his ministerial list, that the Senate, in screening that list, also received petitions from people who queried some of the, nominees. So if it is done here, I wonder where saneness can be other than also in Nigeria. So I don't know where he lives, but I live in a sane society, and I'm a sane human being, and I've seen it. I don't just come on the media to talk about issues. I also take it further. What the Constitution requires me to do as a citizen. That is my civic responsibility. Talking about the EFCC, anybody is free to query, to introspect whatever the government is doing. But in doing that, we must be guided by the fact. We must not run away with our emotions and try to hide behind, I don't belong to any party, I don't support any candidate. That is none of my business. People are fond of telling those stories to just to make them appear to be what they are not. Oh, this is about we are talking about law. We are talking about the country. I that is talking about the Constitution, the facts. Am I talking about myself? And when Moses talked about we having some issues in the past, it is because as a guest you have brought me to come and express my opinion. You can't come and force your opinion down my throat. You started, look at the question you asked. You said some people, when Moses started, Moses opened salvo, Moses said the president appointed in violation. I expect him as a journalist to have said, to some people. Because we live in a society that democratic tenets. Hold on, Moses, don't come in. Hold on. Don't come in, I'm on the floor. Hold on, I'm on the floor.
No, you have.
Yes, hold on, I'm on the floor. Moses, hold on. We live in a society today where democracy allows freedom of opinion. So long as that freedom of opinion is not abused, it does not become a threat to national security. So as a journalist, I'm also a journalist, and there's a way to catch your question. You don't come to the public space as a presenter with a fixed mind.
Nelson, we appreciate you, but I will not take you teaching me my job here. You're a journalist, as I am, and we appreciate you for your views. But we bring you here to express your views. But I will not sit here and take you teaching me my job. All right? So please. She asked you a question. Can you please answer the question that she asked you?
No, you started it. You started it. And I have a right to respond to you.
If you don't want to answer the question, let me ask you a question. We're having a
conversation. You don't have to ask me. Let me answer the question. You are not the one that asked me the question.
All right, please answer
because
the question.
You already have a mindset you want me to drive towards, and I will not. I'm an adult.
The law in Nigeria.
I'm an adult.
No,
I have my own thinking. That's
what
I'm telling you.
I want you to drive
so
towards.
You respect me for
the
that.
Law in Nigeria,
as much as you have a right to your opinion, that's not
my.
I don't have any business with your opinion. That's your right. But also respect my own right
that whoever
to hear my own
must
views.
Appoint.
So if
should have
the lady has asked me a question, allow me to respond to the question.
The law says
and
the president should have
response to the lady's question is that this candidate is eminently qualified to be appointed to that position. Whoever has anything against his nomination, because he has not been appointed, we must get that clear. He's still a nominee until the Senate clears him. That is when he becomes an appointee. So in this case, we are waiting on the Senate to do the needful. But for me, the candidate is eminently qualified. He has the necessary experience. He has worked in this law enforcement agency, of which the EFCC is one. And, based on that qualification, as well as the EFCC Act, he has fulfilled it. The president has nominated him. Whoever has anything against, the qualification of this candidate, whether on the basis of ethnicity, on the basis of religion, on the basis of age or whatever, go to the Senate. That's the clearing out for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm going to stay with you now, Nelson, on this one. Stay with you on this one. I hope you don't mind answering the questions that I would ask. I hope you don't mind.
That's why you have invited me. You have invited me to come and respond to issues.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm not taking it personal. Don't take it personal, please.
Okay. Personally, yes. Okay. Now, the president, we do know that, there have been talk around town that the president seems to be nepotic in his appointments, appointing Southwesterners into sensitive positions. We have the issue of the CJN being a Southwesterner. We have the issue of the CBN, the governor of the CBN being a Southwesterner. And now we have EFCC being a Southwesterner. I know that, I don't know if you belong to a particular party, but I also do know that if you are called to join the president's media team, let me ask, would you gladly jump on it? Oh, well, answer the question, please. What do you think about the seeming nepotic appointments that the president is taking?
Yes, the issue at stake is that under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the president has the powers to make, appointment based on nominations. The Constitution also gives him the powers to make appointment based on some parameters. And in making this appointment, we all know that the president does not have the powers to make the appointments and confirm the appointments. That those appointments, those nominations have to go before the generality of the Nigerian people who are embodied in the Senate, in the hallowed chambers. And it is the duty of the hallowed chambers to confirm or to reject a nominee. If anybody has any issue about where the nominees come from, I expect that those issues should be raised within the confines of the law. So for me, it's not about where the appointees come from, but about their capacity. So if anybody feels that, the president is appointing maybe his wife's son as nominees, and he feels that personal interest is at play, or ethnic interest, or religious interest, there are channels to address these issues. But as far as I'm concerned, I've not seen any aspect of any nepotism in his appointment, because these appointments are appointments that has to be confirmed by the National Assembly, even though the president has the right to nominate. The National Assembly can either confirm or reject. So if anybody feels the president is nepotistic in his own thinking, then I think the person should, that person or group or whoever, should take it up within the confines of the law. For me, I don't see nepotism at play here. What I see at play here is competence. Thank you.
All right, then. Well, I'll come back to ask you the question, but I'm sure my colleague wants to ask questions as well. But I would also like John to respond to this same question that I just asked Nelson now. Go ahead, John.
All right. Moses, I've listened to Mr. Nelson extensively, and I like this kind of argument. but it's good that we're always expressing ourselves and giving our views. It did start from this administration, Moses. This allegation of nepotistic appointment, they start from the administration. So it means that it's part of our culture, you know, it's turn by turn. When it gets to your turn, do what you like. And that is the culture. So when some of us speak against some of these things, we are not talking because, oh, it is like this. Look at the Jonathan administration. Go and check the list of the appointments. Go and check the sensitive positions. Who are those that were holding those positions? Check the Yar'Adua administration. Check the Buhari administration. Who are those in charge of customs, in charge of MPA, in charge of EFCC, in charge of, all of these sensitive agencies and MDAs of the government. Now, the same thing is happening. So people are like, just wait. When it gets our own turn too, we'll put our people there. So when President Tinubu came on board, I know that he has a working team. Don't forget, during the campaign era, Mr. President was telling all of us that he has a team and he will hit the ground running from day one. Now, if you are looking at the Lakers of this world, the Wali Odun of this world, they are not starting from now. They've been with him even before he was a governor. While he was a governor, these were the brain behind successful governance of Bola Tinubu in 8 years in Lagos State. And now that he's at the federal level, do you think he will jettison those people? No, he will bring those people on board. So the point that I'm saying is, even when you are bringing those people on board, you also look at, now it's no longer Lagos. I said it in my opening speech. It's no longer Lagos. It's now Nigeria. Nigeria is bigger than Lagos. Nigeria is even having more ethnic group than Lagos. Nigeria is having more, religious people than Lagos. And so we should look at all of these things in terms of saying we want to have that federal character and balance so that there will not be agitation from any section of the country that our own region is being marginalized. Our region is being sidelined. Since it's Nigeria, we are all Nigerians. And so there are so many competent people that tick the boxes. That's still my word to you. There are so many people in other regions that tick the boxes. If you go to Delta State, you find them. Go to Kwara State, you find them. Go to Ekiti State, you find them. Go to Ondo State. So there's no states in this nation, Nigeria today, at the taxi state, even the FCC, that you will say you cannot find one competent person out of the millions of people living in that state that can fit in that position and that will deliver. Okay? But another thing is a question mark. And what's the question mark, Moses? The question mark is, I don't want to bring in somebody who is competent and who will jettison the plan of my administration. So there's still that politicking aspect of it. And that's why you see that Mr. President is bringing in people who he trusted, who he can close his two eyes and say, okay, this person is in charge of finance, I'm pleased. And that's what the case of Yemi Cardoso is. So, but for me, people say it's an nepotic appointment. I agree with you. So check, get your paper and barrel, put out the list and ask, how many people have been appointed? How many slots does the Southwestern region have? How many slots does the Southeast have? How many slots does the North Central, Northwest, and Northeast have? If you look at all of this, you will see that one region outweighs the other region. And that is their basis for arguing that his appointment and nepotic appointment. And so these are just the facts before us. Just like Mr. Nessie always say, that let's bring the fact on board. So this is the fact I'm bringing on board now. Check all the appointments, check the ministerial appointment, check the MD appointment, check all the appointments. You see that the Southwestern region have more slots than other part of the country, and that's why people are saying
we'll have to
that it's being
so that we are pressed for time, but we do have more questions to ask.
Yes, John, you've basically answered most of the questions I have in mind already. But still, I would ask you anyway. Do you, if I understand you correctly, do you mean that this administration is basically looking to reward loyalists above the appointing those who are actually qualified for this position? I just want you to be clear on that. And the second question I have, people are talking, Nigerians are being suspicious of the fact that, for the EFCC position, which is a very sensitive one, for the president to appoint someone who is not qualified, they are saying there is something suspicious about it. I've already thrown this question to Nelson, but I'm throwing it to you now. Do you think there is anything suspicious about it?
Now, from the very first day of this administration, there has been so many outcry from different angles and different issues. All right. And so you don't expect those outcries will just fade out all of a sudden. Okay? And so whatever every step this president takes, some people will calculate ahead of him and say, why do you think he's choosing this kind of person to be Efcc? It's because he has some things to cover. So he's bringing this person on board to cover those, loopholes. And so that is normal. You always get that from people. But my own point is this: if he ticked all of the boxes as agreed, then for me, I'm fine with him. But if it's not, then those eyebrows will always come up. Mind you, for any government to run very well, you must have effective opposition that always puts you on their toes. So opposition will always be there, giving you their own standpoint and why they think what you are doing is not the right thing.
All right, then.
On the angle of appointing people to compensate them during electioneering, Joy and Moses, that is a constant fact. That is a yes from me. Let me take you back so that you remember. If you remember the election between Dayo Israel and Dio Olusegun, that Dio Olusegun cried when they asked him to step down for Dayo Israel. So when he got his own appointment, it's a payback to him that he could not get the national youth leader of APC. And so when Baba won the election now, he was given that appointment, just to tell him that we have you in mind. And so that is how it is. So it's a mixture of, technocrats and politicians, so that those politicians will feel, oh, even if we are not technocrats, as politicians, we also have our own share of a larger cake. And then they can mix politician, technocrat, politician, technocrat for them to have that balance. So in a bit, is a part of compensation. In a bit, is a part of, doing the job that they ought to do. So you can't take that out in politics because people campaign, people deal all sorts of things.
All right, John, thank you very much. Now, Nelson, please, in 2 minutes, hallowed chambers. You said something about the hallowed chambers, confirming this. Now, this is chambers that we've seen that during confirmation, during screening, they go to the president, they can take a break, or recess, as it is called, go to the president, and then come back and approve. So do you think we will see a situation whereby they will not approve the persons sent to them? That is one. Another one is, somebody, you said, I think it was you or John, somebody said hitting the ground running, that, the president said he was ready to hit the ground running. These were his words. It's not Moses speaking it now. All right, now Nelson, these were his own words. But in hitting the ground running, we see that since the president inaugurated his cabinet in August, he has only held one Federal Executive Council meeting, a meeting that is supposed to be held weekly, but we've had only one. Isn't that a violation of the law, Nelson?
Okay, your first question about the Senate. Well, the Senate, like we all know, is peopled by Nigerians from all over the country. And it's an arm of government, that is independent of the executive, with clearly demarcated function. The Senate, as we speak, exists to make laws for the good of the country. If anybody feels that the Senate is working in harmony with the executive and they are bitter about it, well, I wish them best of luck. Because the legislature, as an arm of government, has a responsibility to deliver on good governance. And in delivering on good governance, the legislature cannot do it alone. It has to work with other arms of government. But we live in a society today whereby the only thing that excites us, the only thing that makes us happy is when we see people fighting, when we see people bickering, when we see bad blood being created. Well, I'm sure they will be disappointed because we have a president who was a former legislator as well as a former executive officer. So he knows the game, and you can see his team. Then talking about the federal executive meetings, I don't know where you have found that in the Constitution, where it is stated that the Federal Executive Council must meet weekly. What I know that is written in the Constitution is that the president will meet with his ministers on a regular basis. And in meeting with his ministers on a regular basis, he does not mandate him to, convoke a meeting of everybody. The president can call for any minister and meet him at any time. That is prerogative. So I don't know where you have found that violation. I want to be educated, with that fact in the Constitution where it is stated that the president must meet with his ministers on a weekly basis. Then I will rest my case. Thank you.
All right then.
All right.
As a journalist, I'm sure you have access to the Constitution. I will look up that one later on. But up next on VOP this morning.
Yes, one too many accusations at a time. The only questions are the capacity and ability to execute the given role. Atiku Abubakar accuses President Bola Tinubu of violating the country's 1999 constitution for failing to convene a federal executive council meeting. It's safe to say Abubakar is not ready to back off anytime soon. Join us for details when we get back.